What's going on, and welcome back to Bourbon of the Week. My name's Chris. I'm going to be your host for today, and what a week it has been, right? Already, we've had our March Madness Bourbon Bracket Single Barrel Edition semifinal round number 1. Yesterday, number 2 is coming up this Friday. We also did our first Blue Note barrel pick, which will be coming out in the next couple of months, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. We also hit 5,000 subscribers here on YouTube, so we're going to be doing a 5,000 subscriber live stream giveaway, which will include one, if not both, of these bottles that you see here. That's the E.H. Taylor Small Batch, as well as the Weller Antique 107. We've got to do it big, but with all of that going on, we still have some great whiskey here from 13th Colony. We're going to pour these up. This is the Southern Rye and the Southern Bourbon. Scratch that, reverse it, and let's see where these fall on our ranking sheet. Cheers, y'all. These corks are so tight. This is the bourbon, right? Correct. I posted a picture of these two bottles, and somebody told me they don't like the bottle shape, which is kind of wild to me because I love them. Beautiful pop. Before we go any further, I do want to say thank you to everybody out there who has clicked that like and that subscribe button on all these videos after all of these years. I really can't believe we're at 5,000 subscribers, so that's definitely going to be a fun live stream. But everybody knows, before we get started on all of that and talk about these two bottles, time for the traditional sip. Cheers, y'all. These are going to be good. So this is how we're going to do things today. We'll go through both of these on price, taste, drinkability, starting with drinkability as we always do. We're going to start with our bourbon over here, which is coming in at 95 proof. It's 70% corn, 21% rye, 9% malted barley, which was a little bit weird because we just did Blue Note Juke Joint in our March Madness Bourbon Bracket Single Barrel Edition, which was the same mash bill. So I'm excited to see one day how this compares to that bottle. But for right now, we're going to start with this 95 proof. Let's see how it does with drinkability. Here's the tough thing with me when it comes to whiskey lately. Anything under that 100 proof mark, it's kind of hard for me to tell anymore. I'm so used to, at this point, buying stuff just because it seems to be every new release is either cash strength or 115 or 120 proof or something like that. So when I get brought back down to that 95 proof range, it's kind of hard for me to decide, is this 80 proof? Is this 90 proof? Is this 100 proof? And it's just drinking easy. So for 95 proof, I will say this does drink right around its proof. We always say if it drinks at its proof, it's an 8.0. I would say maybe this drinks right under its proof. It's not giving me like a big burn or a big Kentucky hug, but then again, it's also only 95 proof, so I will say it probably deserves to be right above an 8. Let's take one more sip and see what we think when it comes to drinkability. Yeah, when it hits the back of the throat, it definitely gives you a little bit of a burn going down, but again, it doesn't warm you up the entire way down. I will say if you're newer to whiskey, this is probably going to be a little bit hot for you, but if you're somebody who's already used to drinking 95, 100, 110 or higher, you're not even going to really taste this. But for me, I'm going to go right above an 8 when it comes to this bottle. I'm going to say like an 8.23 when it comes to drinkability on the bourbon. And there's nothing wrong with an 8.23. Again, when it drinks at its proof, we give it an 8. So I will say this drinks just under its proof. I would probably blind this between that 9 and 95 proof range. Let's get over to the Southern Rye and see how this one does with drinkability. Lately, I've been closing my eyes for my March Madness Bourbon Bracket Single Barrel Edition, and it's kind of become habit, so I just did it there. But let me take one more sip. I wasn't even thinking about it. So this rye is also 95 proof, but it's also a 95.5. So it's 95% rye, 5% malted barley. I'm assuming it's 5% malted barley. They don't really tell us. But if you're newer to whiskey and you're drinking something that's a 95.5 for the first time, you might mistake that rye spice for what you're thinking is ethanol. But for this glass right here, I think, personally, even with that spiciness that I get from the rye on this, this drinks a little bit easier than this when you're talking about that 95 proof and you're talking about specifically that ethanol kick. Let's see what we think, though, for an actual score when it comes to drinkability. Yeah, I mean, I gotta say that this one I think drinks easier than this one. This definitely is warm the entire way down, but it's not hot. And that warmth is probably that rye spice over the ethanol that you're actually getting off of this. I think, and it's kind of always tough, and this is why I don't love doing side-by-sides, because this is an 8.2, so now this has to be higher than an 8.2, but I guess that's what I'm doing. It's just week to week rather than glass to glass when I do them next to each other. This is going to get a better score. It's just how much of a better score when it comes to drinkability. I don't think this quite reaches the 9s yet, but I do think it's high 8s. I'm going to go like an 8.72 when it comes to drinkability on the Southern Rye, which is surprising to me. I'm definitely more of a bourbon guy, so to get the rye off the bat already winning this is going to be interesting because I can tell you right now, taste on this is going to be damn close. Speaking of taste, I think that's where both of these glasses are going to shine. So let's get into taste right now and tell you what I'm getting. Now here's the deal. The only reason I know about this company, 13th Colony, is because of a gentleman named Troy in my Discord. And Troy told me that these two bottles punch above their weight class, and that's exactly what they do. Now, normally when you get the flavors and the robust flavors that I'm getting off of this bourbon right here, you're talking cask strength whiskey. But they've been able to do that, still proofing it back down to that 90 proof and still giving you all those flavors you love without hiding it, without making it feel like they're watered down. And it's damn impressive. I'm going to take another sip. We'll tell you the exact flavors that I'm getting. Actually, I don't even need another sip. They're still on my tongue right now. I'm talking cinnamon. You're talking cherry bombs. You're talking some age notes that I wasn't expecting, with some tobacco, maybe some leather on this. All of that happening at a 95 proof 4-year-old whiskey is very, very impressive. This is good. Let's take another sip. We'll give it a score right away when it comes to taste. I mean, this thing is rich, right? The flavors are deep. It's robust, right? You're not looking for those flavors. It's complex. It's not just one flavor. There's so many different flavors going on. And again, for all of this to be packaged in 95 proof and 4 years old, I can't imagine how they do this, but they're doing it very well. I've already talked about their double oaked, and that's definitely on my top 5 hunting list for this season. I'm going to give this a damn good score when it comes to taste on this. I'm sorry I have to do this. One more sip. I pause so I can think about the flavors that I'm getting as well as think about the score that I want to give this. And we've got to go 9s on this. I'm going to say like a 9.46 when it comes to the flavor on this. There's not a lot of whiskeys that pack this much of a punch when it comes to the flavors without being cask strength. And I got to tell you, they do a damn good job on this. But here's what's even more impressive. I think they might do it better on their rye. And this might be the first time you ever hear me say this personally, but I think when it comes to a bourbon and a rye coming from the same distillery, I think I might like this rye better, but there's only one way to find out. Let's take a sip and see what we get. There's just so much going on in this glass that it's unbelievable. You're getting that rye grain, right? It's 95.5 rye, so you're getting that rye spice. You're getting a fruit note, this fruit influence that I was just not expecting on this, and it's peaches, and you might call it apricot. I'm going to call it peaches because I've never had an apricot, but it's definitely something along those lines. It's a very similar influence to what I got off Barrel Seagrass, which was so apricot forward. This isn't so much that far forward, but at the end of the day, it's still here in this. You're getting your vanillas, your brown sugars are very heavy in this, and then also maybe like a toffee note on the end of this. Again, so much going on here, so much complexity. I love this glass, and I think I like it more than I like the bourbon. Not by much, but just a little bit. It's just so full-bodied as well, right? Again, this just feels like it should be a higher proof whiskey, and it's not. It sits in your mouth. You're not hunting for any of the flavors. They're right there. The more you drink it, the more flavors you get. You don't have to go back sip for sip for sip just to find it. This doesn't taste watered down, which is the weirdest part, because at 95 proof, normally you can get that water influence. It tastes a little dull. It tastes a little quiet, but I'm not getting any of that on either of these glasses. I love this. I got to give it a great score. Again, one more sip. Let's try it out. I don't know if I already said this, but it's warm and not hot. And there's a big difference between that because hot burns the entire way down. Warm kind of just, warms you up. This by a campfire in the middle of winter would be my new go-to. And I have a lot of campfire whiskeys, but this is definitely top of the list from now on. We're going to give this a great score. I think, again, it's still going to be a little bit higher than this one. I'm going to say like a 9.57 when it comes to taste on this particular glass right here. And last but not least, we're going to talk about price on this. And as of right now, these bottles sit on the shelves for $40. Now, I did not disclose this to you, and I should have earlier, but they did send me these bottles for free. That never affects my opinion on the actual whiskey inside of it, but I did receive this generously enough from 13th Colony. Now, 13th Colony probably knows about a little thing called supply and demand, and I've got to guess over the next couple of months, demand for these bottles, especially their double oaked, is going to go through the roof because more and more people like myself are finding out about it, putting it on YouTube, and maybe these are your bottles that you stash away, right? You knew about this company already. You're down in Georgia and you don't want anybody else to know about it. I have to apologize right now. We're going to tell the world about these two glasses right here because for $40, I don't know many bourbons out there that have this complexity when it comes to taste at a 95 proof range. Let's take one more sip and give you a score when it comes to price. As of right now, the Southern Bourbon is winning both in drinkability and taste, so it's kind of got to win in price, right? But both of these are going to get a very good score when it comes to price. At $40, there's nothing I can really complain about when it comes to this bottle. Again, I love the taste. I love the drinkability. I don't think there's a lot of stuff out there for less than $40 that drinks better than this, and I kind of think 40 is going to be the new 30 when it comes to your daily drinkers. So for right now, for price on this bottle, I'm going to give it a very good score. I got to go like an 8.92, and let's just tell you right now, let's just give this a straight 9.0. So 8.92 on the bourbon, 9.0 for price when it comes to the rye. Two great bottles that you should have in your collection. But listen, while I had these scores up, let's send it over to this week's Bourbon Bomb of the Week and learn a little bit more about 13th Colony, how they got their start, and the people involved. Cheers, y'all. Now for this week's Bourbon Bomb of the Week, we're going to talk about 13th Colony, the people involved, as well as the master distiller. Now this is the oldest operating distillery in Georgia, specifically Americus, Georgia, which has been producing spirits since 2009. So how did they get their start? Basically, a bunch of friends who were already producing liquor for holiday gifts for family and friends got together and decided the world needs to know about what we're making. And thank God they did, because without that, we wouldn't have this whiskey right here. They got together, they opened their own distillery, and the cool thing about 13th Colony is they used their corn from their own farm, and they also use the oldest aquifer in the Southwest for their water that they get in these whiskeys. They say the way they keep these bottles so cheap is not using celebrity endorsements, which I don't know how they got away with saying that, because quite frankly, I have 5,000 subscribers here on YouTube and they sent me these bottles for free. So celebrity endorsement approved right now. But they also have a gentleman named Graham Arthur behind them, which is their master distiller. And let's talk about him just a little bit. So Graham Arthur actually got his start in the culinary art world, graduating from Le Cordon Bleu, which sounds pretty French to me, in Georgia. I don't really know if that's how you say it, but that's how we're going to pronounce it today. He then joined the U.S. Coast Guard, came back, and uses all his knowledge from the culinary art world to create harmony in these glasses, and that's exactly what he does. Now, if I could talk to anybody right now, there's a couple people on my I want to talk to list in the whiskey world. Graham Arthur is definitely atop that list right now, because what he does with these glasses is nothing short of a miracle, and I want to know how he does it. Hopefully one day we'll have that opportunity. But for right now, let's send it back over, find out what these total scores were, and figure out where they fall on our ranking sheet. So for the first time in Bourbon of the Week history, we had a rye that outdid a bourbon, and this doesn't happen often, mainly because we just started putting ryes on our ranking sheet, but I digress. This rye came in at a 9.10, a fantastic spot. It's up there with Stag Juniors. It's up there with Larceny Barrel Proofs, Henry McKenna, which is a single barrel, and the one that I had was very good. But this bourbon also did fantastic at an 8.87. Both of these bottles are something that you should have in your collection. So here's the deal. Knowing the people that are already talking about this distillery, I know Jamie and David from Beyond the Row as well as Whiskey Row are already talking about 13th Colony. I know Bourbon Junkies just changed their 2022 Whiskey of the Year to include the double oak version of the bourbon that we're drinking tonight. I gotta tell you, this distillery is going to blow up, and it's going to happen quickly. So if you have an opportunity to pick up either of these bottles, do it, and do it now. But listen, if you haven't already, click that like and that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Go click that follow button over on Instagram. That's where I'll give my update on my 5,000 subscriber live stream, where I'm going to give away either E.H. Taylor or Weller Antique 107, or if we have a couple drinks, probably both. So go click that follow button over there. Check us out on Discord 24/7. That link in the description below. Come join our Patreon. You'll have a better chance to win both of those bottles and get to hang out with some cool people. In the meantime, please don't drink and drive. Always drink responsibly, and stay healthy, stay happy. Stay drinking. And let me know about the next up-and-coming distillery, because this one's it right here. Cheers, y'all.